Hey guys, my name is Ariel Myers and I will be presenting on the Chief Marketing Officer role, aka the CMO. In the article that I read, Why CMOs Never Last, by Kimberly A. Whitler and Neil Morgan of the Harvard Business Review, the issue of high CMO turnover is discussed, as well as what makes a CMO successful. Defining the role not only plays a part in both the rise and fall of a CMO, but correctly filling the role and the way in which it was intended does as well. When all sides involved in that process come together, a CMO can find success. Ultimately, there is not one precise, widely agreed upon answer to what a CMO does, but I'm still going to try to explain it to you. Not only do the responsibilities vary greatly from one firm to the next, but the training, experience, and skills of the person filling that role do as well. However, while all CMO roles are not cookie cutter, they still have a few of the same core ingredients. According to Whitler and Morgan, more than 90% are responsible for marketing strategy and implementation, and more than 80% control brand strategy and customer metrics. They go on to discuss 3 different classifications of the CMO: the enterprise-wide P&L role, strategy role, and commercialization role. The commercialization role typically revolves around the marketing communications used to sell the company's products, services, experiences. So basically, they're responsible for advertising, social media, promotions, events. A strategy role is more so involved in innovation, using customer insight and analytics. In the enterprise-wide role, P&L typically refers to having responsibilities involving the allocation and outcome of company resources, so resource management. This role is essentially a hybrid of both the commercialization and strategy roles. And as you can see here by this chart, the commercialization role does take up the majority of CMO role classifications. In industries where growth is slow or there are high levels of competition, a CMO that's either strategy focused or enterprise wide might be the right fit, because they'll need to strategize a plan to increase demand. If growth comes a bit easier for the company and the challenges aren't as dynamic, then the commercialization role might be ideal, because they'll really only need to focus on their communications strategy. Considering the firm's needs, obstacles, and objectives, the CEO should determine which type of CMO best completes their organization. To reflect such considerations, CEO should address the following external and internal factors: answering questions about the role consumer insight plays in the organization, the obstacles the organization is facing in order to grow, what the challenges are, why other CMOs have come and gone, and what the structure of the firm's like. So, is there multiple business units, for example? Answering all of these questions will help to create and fill the role appropriately. So, why do CMOs not last? Well, one reason is that they have a strained relationship with their CEO. According to a global survey by the Fournier's marketing group, 80% of chief executive officers lack faith in their CMOs or are unimpressed with them, whereas only 10% of those CEOs have the same types of feelings towards their CIOs or CFOs, so chief information officers or chief financial officers. This disconnect could be attributed to poor job design. CMOs last on average 3 years or less, because much of the time they feel as if they aren't given the authority to do their jobs. There's a misalignment between the perceived role and its responsibilities on both ends, the CMO and CEOs, leading to the high turnover of CMOs, as shown here. This creates a Ferris wheel effect, with CMOs riding along for a year or two and then hopping off. For example, when I first started at my company, I sat down with a couple of our heads of marketing and we talked about the CMO because she was on her way out. I was told that she was just not given the authority that she felt she needed to make necessary changes. She was only our CMO for 7 months. On his way in to take her place was our current CMO. He's just now surpassed about 2.5 years with us, and in his time here, we have seen a lot of change. So, the marketing department's feeling pretty hopeful, but still, we're waiting for the other shoe to drop. Wondering how long he'll last here as well, because my company does have a history of high CMO turnover. The CEO, on the other hand, has been around for 20 plus years. Strategies to combat the turnover entail making sure that both the candidate and CEO's expectations of the role align with the responsibilities given. Often, there is a gap in the skills expected of a candidate filling the role and the experience the candidate actually has. Whitler and Morgan suggest having the candidate write a summary of what they believe the role entails, what they believe will be their responsibilities, and what they believe is expected of them. The recruiter and the CEO should then confirm or clarify to make sure that they're all on the same page, and if they're not on the same page, then they need to discuss the reasons why. Overall, the research makes it clear all CMO positions are not created equal. Whether it be the candidates, the CEO, or the recruiters, no one is asking the right questions. Without delving deeper into the responsibilities and expectations of that role, CMOs are bound to be square pegs in round holes. As a result, CEOs are not impressed with their CMOs because the CMOs aren't doing what they thought they signed up for. So to tie it back to the book, Chapter 2, page 39 echoes the same challenge, that success factors are varied in the same way every CMO role is varied. The chapter overall discusses several topics touched upon by the article. For example, like the article's discussion of strategic roles, Chapter 2 of our text discusses strategic planning and how successful it has been in big-name companies like Apple and Walmart, noting that the focus is on the customer and their effective response to evolving customer needs. As with placing a focus on the customer is the point that a successful CMO infuses a customer perspective, a point brought up throughout the text and in the article, reiterated as an attribute of a strategic or enterprise-wide role. The text further states that aspects of strategic planning include managing the businesses as an investment portfolio, the way an enterprise-wide role or mixed role might do, due to P&L responsibility, and in the same way a strategic CMO might consider the firm's positioning. The text lists assessing the market's growth rate and position in that market as an aspect of a strategic planning. So all of this research made me wonder, why is there so much turnover? Now, I'm not talking about all the reasons I went over just now, because it's clear that there's an issue with how the role is defined and filled, gap in expectations, skills, etc. But my question is, if a company is seeing a higher turnover in their CMO than in any other C-suite, what are they doing to remedy it? Why does it keep happening when there's clearly a pattern? My answer is that they're being reactive instead of proactive. Instead of working to solve the root of the problem, or maybe taking some of the blame, they're assuming that the problem was the CMO. Instead, they need to take a look at the pattern to determine where the disconnect lies so that they don't make the same mistakes with the next candidates. The success of a CMO is dependent upon filling the role appropriately. Expectations, skill sets, experience, responsibilities, job scope, they all need to line up. And when they do, the CMO and organization will fit well with one another. Thank you.